Hi guys, welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. I'm Liam, I'm joined by Jack,
Hello, hello.
and yeah, we're starting our new analysis series. So it's a game, that many of you probably haven't heard of. It's called Twin Mirror, so it's by DontNodEntertainment, the people who did Life is Strange, which, we've just done the analysis for their season one. Jack, just the most broad, shittest question on the planet. How did you find part one?
I'm really enjoying it. My expectations for this are high, and I've got to admit, I'm low-key worried about that as well because it is a don't nod. I'm not expecting the branching and the choices to be exciting, but it is a blind playthrough, so I'm trying to put that at the back of my mind because the fact that it has choices in there. There are some good characters that we've met early on that's really exciting. Plus it's centered with a mystery. I'm such a sucker for it, such a simple man. Just give me a good story with a mystery, and I'll be all ears. So honestly, mate, really good so far.
I have to say it's the same for me. When it kicked off, I was a little skeptical. So I was doing it on a stream. First time I'd ever streamed, so I had a few viewers. Thank you again to Miss Congeniality and Kay Davison for joining that. As well as, a few other people who dropped in and out. It was really lovely to chat as I played. It meant my playing was quite erratic. I didn't really look for clues. I very much missioned on. I at the start was like, oh no, I don't think this is gonna be a good game. The reason being, it felt very ripped off of Alan Wake. Kind of like the look of the town, the fact that you're a reporter slash writer or whatever. That it just had that kind of Alan Wake feel to it again, but then there was almost like a hint of Life is Strange in there as well. Also from the fact that you couldn't run at the start, so you're just dragging through, examining items, and also on top of that, the main character, in my opinion, just looks like the most boring face model that I've seen in multiple games. You could say he looks like Michael in GTA 5. You could say he looks like Alan Wake himself. You could even say he looks like Aiden Pierce from Watch Dogs. I don't know if you thought the start was a slow burner and it just felt like a bit of a mishmash of different games coming together, mate.
Certainly, I agree with the point about the Alan Wake meets Life is Strange thing. That's certainly come to mind for me as well. No, I mean, in terms of the slow start, it didn't really impact me because it's weird because usually I would want a fast start in a video game, jump straight in, but I almost expect it with these narrative games that they're going to be sort of slow burners at the start and you got to gather momentum as you go on. And yeah, obviously you literally just walk around, don't you? You go up to a lookout and then that prompts this mind palace sequence. But do you know what I mean? I feel like that the way they did it, they slowly introduced the characters of Anna, who of course was your ex-girlfriend, and then your best friend Nick, because obviously this is all geared around going to his funeral, the fact that he has a goddaughter. So the main characters were introduced nicely. I thought the environments were very nice as well. Again, very reminiscent of Life is Strange. I want to say it's Before the Storm. Just the whole lookout thing, looking over trees and maybe a town and mountains and things.
Oh yeah, like you do with Rachel. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing as well. The Mind Palace was where I thought, oh, we could be onto something here. I love the look of it. Say what you will about the game, but the style is just stunning. I love the whole Mind Palace with the broken glass and the shards going around with the memories. We say it was a bit like Life is Strange. They almost ripped a page out of the Chloe and Max museum at end of episode 5, right, in season 1. But yeah, like you say, very interesting and unique way of introducing the characters. I was all for it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the fact that it culminated, this whole Mind Palace bit, with Sam proposing to Anna, and I don't know whether it was the intention, but there was a line that he said that just it cracked me up a little bit. But when she was hesitating, when he asked her to marry him, he's like, "You look like I just ran over your grandma." I must admit, I did laugh at that because it's God, like it's more out of empathy than anything. It's like, what a horrible situation. Like this guy's ready to commit to this woman, and she's just sort of like, oh no, like it's so awkward.
Yeah.
I was thinking, it would be good to see, how this, dynamic plays out going forward.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was happy with the opening, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's got to be the worst proposal I've ever seen. It's like blocking the lens. It's like, how is she supposed to see that when she's looking through a lens? But yeah, and you know what? Like, I again thought another page out of Life is Strange books, because like you're someone who's clearly like left the town and abandoned people behind, and now you're coming back, where you're helping out someone who's lost their dad. I'm like, don't nod, is everything okay? Like, is this something that's happened in your life? But either way, when I started playing it, I quite like the fact that we're not playing as this action hero who's a complete saint like Sam. He's got his flaws. He runs away a lot. You missed the first part of the funeral. I'm not surprised with the walking pace, but either way, like it was really well set up, before we head to this bar scene. One thing I kind of just want to briefly mention before we get there, mate, is that we're frequently visited by this character who is a bit of a mystery figure. Like, we still don't really know who he is. This man who's unnamed, who has glasses, he follows you around. He's clearly a figment in your imagination, right? Because he'll kind of like follow you talk when no one was there before. He'll be in the back of a car, so like clearly no one else can see him, only you, and you're talking your, intrusive thoughts with him. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this character, mate.
I've honestly taken him to be like an alter ego, or like, the things, Sam's subconscious mind talking. That's genuinely how I view him. Because there are some things that he says that you can think, actually, yeah, that's quite smart and logical. There's other ones where you think, well, actually, I think what Sam's saying with his conscious mind is, sort of socially a lot more acceptable anyway. So that's who I think he is. Did you think sort of along the same lines, or?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I'll elaborate more on it later, but yeah, he definitely has some form of self-consciousness. It could maybe be like a Dr. Hill and Joshua Washington figure, where he's actually like a therapist, helping him out. So yeah, like there's definitely more, but I will elaborate, more on him later, because there are theories when we do get into the nitty-gritty mystery of the game. But regardless, we end up at this bar, and I was telling you a little bit beforehand, you end up at like the Miners Haven parking lot. You go to this bar, and I was just begging that we get a lot of characters in this bar, a lot of character development, and I don't think it disappointed. So yeah, obviously, yeah, as well, before we get into this bar, we're introduced to this character, Bug, where we get our first major choice, really. So this girl is obviously the daughter of, your best friend who you left, and, she's angry at you. She says you left, you pinky promised you wouldn't. So I was just thinking, oh, Sam, you're a piece of shit. But I quite like that we're playing that, But she presents you with this choice. She doesn't think it adds up that, this guy was in a car crash. And because apparently he drives like a grandma or a grandpa. She wants you to do a bit of digging. What did you pick, mate? Did you think, nah, this is a wake, we shouldn't do that? Or did you say, yeah, go on then, let's do some digging?
Yeah, I said I'd promise to look into it. I don't know, because it's early on in the game, at least the reason why I picked it was that we're probably going to have to look into it anyway. So I feel like it could be one of those nothing choices. So I was like, yeah, I might as well just promise to look into it. Then I think as well, like when she was asking, there's like a bit of dialogue between you. I think I explained to her like why I left as well, because of like the collapse in the relationship with Anna. And like he didn't have a place to stay and stuff like that. So I was like trying to be open and honest with her, and I thought, you know what, fuck it, the game's going to take me this way anyway. I might as well look into my best friend's death.
Yeah, I was the same, and I like the fact that you're given the stats of players that pick the same choice. So I guess it's different for me because it was PC, but I think it said something along the lines of like 81% of people picked the same. And I just want to briefly talk about the menu. I really enjoy it, like the way the characters are presented, and you can like read about them. The way like you can look at all the different choices, and like I say, the stats of how many people picked that choice. Even the small fine details as well. How the element you've selected is in white over the black menu, and there's like glass shards flying off it, a bit reminiscent of the Memory Palace. I just thought that was a really neat touch. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love the journal. Yeah, I think it's fantastic the way they've set it up. The fact as well that you can like use that, or on console you can use one of the bumpers and go across to like the memento. Although you have sort of like memories with like characters and they come up under their name later on, but you can then look at sort of like bits of dialogue and like I was sort of looking at it almost like similar to Life is Strange, funnily enough, where Max has her journal. I found myself reading through it because I was like, if I'm going to be doing some investigating, I want to be sort of clued up on things. So I was really taking my time with it, and especially in these journals.
Ah, sweet. So did you enter the bar through the front or the back?
I thought you could only enter through the front. I did go round the back. I did my classic thing where I was like, you know what, I'm going to look round the side of every bloody car and, look at everything. And then I got to the back door and it said that Ethan leaves a key around here. And I did half-heartedly have a look, but I couldn't really see anything. So I was like, I might as well just go through the front. But can you actually go through the back?
Well, I went through the front. I decided against it, but I imagine you can. There was the option there. But, we'll have to see. I just thought, yeah, let's go through the front, like, I'm clearly, like, in debt to a lot of people. I should just do this as normal as I can. I don't want to go through absolutely chronologically, mate. There's a lot of characters to get through. Yeah. We've got...
Walter.
Oh, yeah, so, we've got Walter, we have, like, the wife, we have a miner who scolds you, the police officer, Declan, a drunk guy called Dennis who hassles you at one point. Did you have any favourites, mate? Any interesting interactions with any of the characters here?
Ooh, no, I'll go through what I did, I guess. Walter, he seemed like a friendly enough guy. I think there's a choice, isn't there? You can either step back or you can hug him. I just chose to hug him. I don't know what it is about Walter, though. There's just something to me that says I shouldn't trust him, actually, so I immediately regretted doing that. I think Tara, she's quite an interesting character. Like one of the first things she says to you is that she's got a stomach problem. I was like, oh wow, okay, like that's a bit of an icebreaker. But
while you're on Tara, actually, I want to say my favourite character. I love her. She's got no filter. Yeah. The first time you see her, she talks about how your best mate burnt alive and it would have been a painful process. I was laughing at it, and like if you saw the stream with me, like we were just laughing at how iconic Tara was. Yeah, probably no filter, whether there's like a learning disability or she's just not a nice person. Yeah, I loved every moment of Tara's dialogue.
I don't know what it is about her as well, like whether she's purposely being passive aggressive or whether she's just completely oblivious to what she's saying, but the way she comes out with that you basically you didn't lose me my job, but so I don't have a problem with you, but you did manage to lose everybody else's job, in course referring to the miners because of the article that Sam wrote. She keeps drumming this home, and I think like Sam turns around and is like, oh, thanks for the confidence boost or whatever, but like it's just like she's not clearly a main character, at least at this point. But she is like a lot of fun. You can tell that she's almost like, you're getting like sort of Agatha Christie novels. There's always like the town gossip,
Yeah.
Always the one that's sort of talking around, about other people behind their back. So she's definitely a colourful character. Dennis, he just seems like your typical mean-spirited. Is he a journalist as well, or I can't remember what he does. He just comes across really bad because I think the first thing he says to you is that he made a bet that you'd come back or that you wouldn't come back. And I think after that, I just, I told, I think he then says to you like, oh, how have you been? And I just straight up said, like you care. I'm not going to pretend you was a bit of a dick to me. So it was a little bit of a hostile relationship. Of course, you meet the cop as well, who I didn't really talk to that much. There's the Ethan guy at the bar. You do see Anna as well, don't you? I don't know how it played out for you, mate, but like And you know what? I actually thought this when I looked at the board, like the memorial for Nick. I saw pictures of like him and Anna, and it did cross my mind. I was like, wait, them two been in a relationship or something, or are they best friends? And then funnily enough, you then speak to Anna, and she's like, oh yeah, like me and Nick were together like, a few months ago or something. And it's like, damn, like, sort of like an Until Dawn thing going on here, like the guy fucks off and then she's like getting with his best friend. So yeah, honestly, there's lots of possible story strands, mate. And I'm really liking it. They're all got quite unique things about them.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really like the song as well that Anna does. Like, it's a really cool scene. Obviously, the tear as well. It's quite iconic. Like, I remember that bit from the trailer. So yeah, I was loving that. When I interacted with her, I kind of like, I'm playing a little more chaotic than I ought to, than I kind of, because I want to have fun with it. So I may have wound her up by trying to dig into, questioning her about him. So she stormed out of the bar, but, which is interesting. I don't know if you did the same thing.
Really? You know what? I said, was it for this game or for The Expanse? I said I was going to purposely play it chaotic, didn't I? But
yeah.
You know what? No, I played it straight. And the reason I did is because I actually spoke to Walter. And he was the only, I think him and the sheriff were the only people that I probed information from. But I spoke to Walter and he said, it's probably not a good idea that you go around probing for information from people, considering it's this guy's wake. I thought that's a good point, but I was like, has he got another reason? Is it because that he wants something hidden? Is he more involved in this guy's death? So I did the same with the cops, and they said the exact same thing. They was like, it's a bit inconsiderate that you're raising this at, the wake. So I didn't really do it with anyone else. So with her, yeah, I just like played it very neutral. And funnily enough, the alter ego pops up, and he says that was a smart move. The fact that you didn't probe information from her there because, she's a loved one, emotions are high and stuff. So I don't know if that's the game's way of saying that I made the right call there, but hey ho, we'll have to see.
Obviously, yeah, we have all these interactions. It's really interesting to see what, happens. Then I guess we come to this scene where Bug's drinking and the cop, gets angry.
Yeah.
And she storms out. What did you think of this scene, mate?
It was good. You know what, the only real thing that I picked up on though is that on the back of her denim jacket there was a butterfly, and I was like, damn, I'm starting to see, like, going back through these games, like whether it's Life is Strange, obviously like Heavy Rain, I think there's a bit, clearly Until Dawn, I'm just like seeing butterflies everywhere, and I'm like, wee, it's a nice little Easter egg for the podcast. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I didn't think of it too much. It then gives you an opportunity to, message her or something, doesn't it? And I did. I just texted her to say, are you okay? And she said, thanks for checking in on me. So that relationship seems to be pretty steady still at the moment. What about you?
I did the exact same thing. And then obviously it breaks out into this drinking sequence, which, a bit of a side tangent, they have got to be the weirdest drinks I've ever seen. Ethan is the worst barman because the bar are like 25% just froth and head, and a lot of the drinks don't look like liquid, some of them were slanting, they look more like soup, and I just like I just looked at these pints like, I don't think I'd enjoy these, I don't think these are good for you. No wonder the guy woke up feeling grugh. But yeah, but really interesting though, wasn't it? Because yeah, you've got like the whole drinking section with your alter ego talking to you, and yeah, like I almost like, I wouldn't say I hated the start, but I just had doubts. I'd say that's a more accurate, comment. But at this point, you kind of forget about that. You're just proper, like, you're hooked into the story, aren't you? And I just was really loving it. So we wake up in this hotel, and I found it funny because I don't know if anyone's ever experienced this where checkout are telling you to leave. And then they're like, oh, we're going to charge you if you don't get out in 15 minutes. And then this guy's like, having trips and stuff. And I'm thinking like, buddy, you got to get out in 15 minutes. This isn't like what you should be doing. But yeah, like, really interesting scene. You just go through looking for water. But the most notable thing to say, right, mate, is that we find a bloody shirt. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I was like, yeah, shit. Like, he's obviously forgotten something. Something's gone down, unless it's someone planting evidence in his room. I thought it really was the point for me. I was like, yes, this is, the mystery's going to kick in now. He's at the heart of it. We're going to get some, investigative, I'm saying that wrong, but investigation moments. And yeah, I was just thinking, yeah, I really hope to see where this plot goes. One thing I did want to ask you though is that there are like a little pot of pills on the table. Did you take them at all?
I think I tried to, but I believe they were empty, so I couldn't.
Oh, right, I was going to say, because that was the one question mark I had, because I didn't realise the bloodied shirt would, progress the game on. So, I walked past the pills, I was thinking, I've just woke up, it's probably not a good idea to take them, right? And I was like, I'll purposely leave it, but then I was, immediately regretful of that afterwards. I was thinking, maybe I should have, at least clicked on it to see what would have happened there, but it clearly doesn't mean anything. But, yeah, what about you, mate?
Yeah, it's interesting because, it just reminds me a lot of games, and I just have a bunch of theories. It could be either of them. It could be like a Fahrenheit Lucas moment where you blacked out, you committed the crime. It could be that, your alter ego's, the one that does it, or maybe you're the one that does it, and the alter ego's trying to tell you not to. And it could be like a Heavy Rain Ethan Mars thing, where maybe it's going to lead us down a garden path that we're the criminal, we're the one that, did whatever, and we want to think we're the doer, but actually someone's framing us, or there is someone else. So yeah, one theory I had is that we're the suspect ourselves from when we got blackout drunk.
Yeah.
So, that is something that, I do think we have to consider. But, yeah, no, really interesting though. We get to this bit of a weird dream sequence, don't we? That's, called the Infinite Hallway, apparently. What did you make of this section?
I really liked it from a creative standpoint. Gotta admit though, I did fuck up a couple of times. So the first thing, because you're sprinting down this corridor, aren't you? And I thought the objective was to go through. So literally the first door that I saw, I actually ran into it. And then it literally has this cutscene where Sam looks behind him and something stomps towards him. It just restarts. And but in terms of the mechanics, I felt like it was quite difficult with the analog to move Sam. I felt like I was having to pull it quite a long way just to get him to move slightly by a few inches. But of course, yeah, it was pretty standard, as a puzzle after that, because you literally just had to pick the good doors to run in, right? Whether it was to stay calm, whether it was to focus, and be positive and all of that, and just stay away from the ones that said prison and you're a murderer and all that sort of thing. But as an artistic thing, as a way to demonstrate what's going on in Sam's head, yeah, a really good addition, mate.
I completely agree. I love the fact as well it's his mind palace, but it's not your crystal blues and whites, it's black and red, so it's kind of his mental health or whatever it is almost being compromised. But yeah, I was the same as you. There was a few steering difficulties. I went through the first door, is this what I'm supposed to do? And then you've got Grant from Dume behind you chasing you down, and you're yeah, this clearly isn't it. So yeah, you just go for the ones with the right words in, and yeah, there's ones that say yeah, be calm, steady, and then you're okay, yeah, and then eventually I grasped it. But yeah, I was a big fan of this. A nice little sequence.
Get the bit with the 3 doors afterwards as well, don't you?
I was gonna say, actually, there was one that was face it, one that was run away, and then one that was hide. And I was thinking, first I'm gonna pick hide, and then it just said to me nah, I can't do that. You've been hiding my whole life. So then I wanted to go, right, well, I'll face my fears. And then what was interesting, because I got it wrong on the first one, the doors actually switch around, so I nearly entered the wrong one. And I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, what did you think of this bit?
See, no, I've basically learned the lesson from Little Hope that, video games always want you to face your demons. So yeah, I went up to each door and listened, and like you said, one of it was face it, one of them was run away, and one of them was hide. And I was clearly it's going to have to be, you have to face your demons. So I just walked through, and then the achievement popped. But no, that's dead interesting that you picked a different door and then they moved around. Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So afterwards, we have a conversation with the alter ego, and we have to go back to the bar to retrace our steps. So, we go through the back, we do a bit of clue hunting, and, from this moment, I said to myself, this is a section Jack is going to love. It's very reminiscent of Connor in Detroit Become Human when he builds his crime scenes. Very reminiscent of the Batman Arkham games when you rebuild a crime, I'm going to let you take the steering wheel and the helm on this one, mate. Tell us everything about this crime scene.
Yeah, breaking and entering again. It's just another Don't Nod thing that Luke's taken from Life is Strange. But yeah, I mean, before I do go into all that, I'm just going to say that I did go and play Pac-Man. And again, got another achievement here. I don't know how much, you had to almost get the achievement, but I've written the score down in case any of you want to know. I got 9,030 points. So I got through the first maze. I think I got through the second maze. And I very nearly got through the third one, or maybe I did get through the third one. And then by that point, I'd lost all 3 of my lives.
I am dreadful at Pac-Man, and I got 3,190. I didn't get past the first maze. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to move on.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, I mean, again, yeah, you're absolutely spot on with the Batman observation. And even, I'm pretty sure Telltale's Batman had, little moments like this where you're, reconstructing the crime. So it just seems to be a very, Batman thing, I guess. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Now, what I don't know is whether you can get it wrong, because I'm pretty sure I got it right first time, because obviously you spend some time looking round for the clues. You see fallen clock, broken glass, business card, a cap, etc., right? And I think I picked that, the fight breaks out and that it goes to the tables behind you, which just seemed to make sense. And it went to the pillar, and then it ultimately went to the stage. I also picked that it was Dennis. So again, I don't know if you can get it wrong. From what you're telling me about the 3 doors thing, is that you can't get it wrong. So I imagine that I just got it right first time. But as far as the scene goes, again, it's something that I love from other games, like you said, Detroit Become Human, the Batman ones, reconstructing a crime. It was in that sort of mind palace sort of thing, wasn't it? But you had elements of the real world of the bar in there, which just visually was really cool. And it's just a different type of gameplay. So yeah, probably the best scene in the game so far, mate, for me.
I completely agree. And yeah, one thing I found a little challenging, which took me not too long, but longer than I would have liked, is I think I was looking around for the clues for quite some time, and then I found out that I think you had to find a specific one before you could unlock another one. So I looked at the clock about 5 times, and then I had to find something else, and then I had to come back to the clock. So I think you had to find them in a specific order. But yeah, when it got to the building, it took me a while because I just wanted to look at all the different avenues. With Dennis, Joel, and Hugh being kind of the suspects, it could have really, from a crime point of view and where everything ended up, it could have been either, because there was debris and broken stuff to the left, to the right, at the board kind of thing. So honestly, I was well, logistically it could be any of them, but I am going to take it from I'm going to look at the people and who would have the most motive and kind of what they're like. I just took it as Hugh's the one who doesn't really, have any beef with me. It probably wouldn't be him, although that could be a red herring. Joel's the easy option. He's the miner who hates me. I cost him his job. And I had a feeling I wanted to go down the middle with Dennis. So, yeah, I kind of picked that. I did kind of look at all the avenues, just sort of explored all the scenarios of how the fights would have gone. But yeah, I went with Dennis. So I don't know if I could have been wrong because I think I picked him first as well. But yeah, it looks like we had a fight with the drunk guy who, we didn't get on well with. And then, we seem to have this memory of him saying, look, talk to me here. So I guess that's what we're going to do next. We're going to speak to Dennis. But yeah, everything you said, mate, I echo as well. You took the words there. Probably the best scene in the game. And I really hope we get multiple more like this. I'm sure we will. It would be an absolute wasted opportunity if we didn't. But yeah, now really strong, mate.
I think as well, it's a nice little cliffhanger. And again, like it sounds like I'm being smart after the event, but I promise that I know what it is. It's the same when we was playing, that Erica game, mate. But like, when a character just comes across very nice, I guess it's the same with Jefferson in Life is Strange. When they come across perfect, the epitome of what someone could be, which seemed like, this Nick guy was. It did come to the back of my mind. I was like, I bet this guy's a bit more shady than, it's letting on. So when you have this fight with Dennis and he goes, oh, Nick, he wasn't all he's cracked up to be, you meet me and I'll tell you about it. Of course he could be full of lies, but it did sort of register something with me. I was like, yeah, there's going to be more to this Nick character than just, a cautious guy, was dead in an accident. I think it will just, in terms of a story, it will make it more interesting. And so when that happened, I was like, oh, okay. So, initial thoughts were, fairly accurate.
Yeah.
Then, of course, obviously you then get another choice whether to stay or leave discreetly. So, I mean, I know that I picked to leave discreetly. I didn't want to look too guilty being there. But what about you, mate?
I did the exact same. I just thought, it's not going to be good. Like, I can't see any good of staying in a bar full of broken stuff where, you've got a bloody shirt. So, like, probably someone could pin it back on being you. One thing I just wanted to comment on as well is that this Ethan has got to be the worst barman in the world. His pints look awful. And what kind of person leaves two drunk people alone in a bar, like, unattended? And just like where they can like fight, because like clearly the barman left before they did. So I just was like a bit of a questionable man, this Ethan. He clearly doesn't care about his job that much. But like I really, part of me wishes I picked stay, so it's varied from yours, and then we could have seen what happened.
Of course.
But I was playing this game quite chaotic, but I was actually quite swept up. Like, I want to play it right, so I picked to discreetly leave, where we're potentially going to meet up with Dennis. And I guess that is where our part 1 ends, right? We have to play the game and then we'll see what happens after that, right?
Of course. I mean, that's the thing. The only thing that I really know about this game is that I do know it has 4 endings. I don't know what the endings are. So, there are sort of points, even in this early stage, I was thinking, how much do these choices matter in the long game? It is typical that they don't necessarily matter, but time will tell. So that's why, in the end, I sort of like, no, I'll play it straight. I want to see sort of what would happen if I did make my own decisions without, just dicking about, So,
yeah, of course. Before we end this chapter, this analysis episode, I just want to ask, any characters that you're suspicious of, that you're not trusting? You mentioned Walter there. I don't know if you have anyone else that you're kind of keeping an arm's length at.
Yeah, Walter's one of them. I feel like on his bio it said that he's just a friendly guy. And I don't know what it is. There's just something about Walter. I feel like Dennis is going to be the character they want you to be skeptical of, but actually he's all right. He's sort of like David from Life is Strange. The cops, and I feel like the miners, they could be like antagonists, but again, I don't think they're going to be the big bad. Yeah, I feel like it's sort of going to be someone that they don't want us to look at that's going to be the villain.
Yeah, because for me, I mean, I'm looking at Sam a little bit because obviously I've got the alter ego theory with, like the guy with the glasses who we don't know too much about yet. But one guy I'm kind of looking at a little bit as well is this Hugh character who took over your pharmacy job after you left, because, like, it kind of reminded me a little bit about what you said about Life is Strange with Mr. Jefferson, where you've got like 3 suspects and it's the least kind of suspect one, and then they end up becoming the villain. And it's Don't Nod, so I wonder if they're going to pull the exact same stunt again. And at the start, he did look pretty chummy with Kathy, who was, obviously Nick's wife, right?
Yeah.
So, it might be that we've got a jealous kind of guy who wanted Nick out of the picture. That could definitely be an angle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, we've got Anna as well. I mean, she's been in a relationship with both men. Could it be that, she's killed one and wants to frame the other for some reason? I don't know. Like, there's so many ways that it can go. And I'm keen to get back into it.
Or could it be Sam killing the guy who would get a higher Pac-Man score than him? That could also be a possibility.
Yeah.
Regardless, though, we'll get back into the game. By the way, we're going to get into part 2 now, so we're going to play that, and then we're going to come back for the second part of the analysis. We hope you guys have enjoyed our deep dive on talking about Twin Mirror. We're certainly intrigued so far, but we're probably really in the dark. We're probably way off with our theories. We'll have to see. It'll be really interesting to come back and listen to this conversation. Well, we'll see you guys next week for the next part of our Twin Mirror analysis, part 2. Thank you very much for joining.
Bye-bye for now.